Okay, so speaking or no speaking, you might notice me tremble a bit because I'm a little bit nervous today. But I have cards just in case I lose track of where I'm at, which is quite possible considering I do have ADHD. So my name is Abi Lemon, I'm 46 years old, and I was diagnosed with adult ADHD, probably about 18 months ago now. Prior to that, there was a lot of stuff that happened that kind of led me to this diagnosis. I'm also dyspraxic, so if I actually accidentally trip over on the stage, there's a nice fairy rug here, that's probably one of the reasons why. So I was, first of all, I'm here to share my story. I'm here to share a little bit about my diagnostic journey as well. And my hope is actually that you'll take something away from it. You might feel inspired. There's actually, I'm going to tell you 3 things that have really helped me on this journey as well. So, I hope they can help one of you in here as well. So if we just kind of go back to the beginning. So when I was a kid, much like many undiagnosed neurodivergents, I felt like I didn't fit in. I daydreamed. My brain ran at 100 miles an hour, but somehow I couldn't harness that. My school reports, again, much like Brandon was saying earlier and Paul, could try harder, is lazy, is a daydreamer, isn't working to her potential. And I was constantly told that I wasn't doing it properly. I wasn't doing things right, but it was never picked up that I could possibly be neurodivergent. And this is because it was a long time ago, and in girls especially, and I know that's something that Dr. Hugh supports as well. In girls, it looks very different. We're not necessarily the kid that's bouncing off the walls, although sometimes we can be. But for me, it showed up as working like 800 times harder to try and feel the same as everybody else. Thinking that everybody struggled with the same challenges as me, not feeling like I fitted in, feeling like I was different, feeling like I was just kind of still not doing it right, and constantly trying to people please, which I know happens a lot, and constantly trying to better myself so that actually I got approval from my parents, I got approval from my teachers, and I was painfully shy because of it. So, those things for me led to having really low self-esteem, really low self-worth, and feeling like I had to be somebody else and pretend almost, or the masking, to be somebody else all of my life. So that led into my teens, and all of that masking and trying to fit in led to the things that teens do. I know Brandon talked about drugs, I know Paul talked about drugs. In the 90s, I got heavily into recreational drugs, and that was because it was something I could actually fit into. People, they understood what I was, going through. It wasn't that I was ADHD. It wasn't that I had something different about me. I was just a party girl, living life, just using all of that ADHD stuff to try and calm me down, to try and make myself feel normal. But of course that didn't work. That low self-esteem, that low self-worth, all of that really it leads to you making some really bad choices because you're doing it to try and feel validated. You're doing it to feel like you belong and feel like you're loved and feel like you fit in. So, of course, I know the lady at the back there said bad relationships, attracting the wrong situations, making bad decisions, being really impulsive. All of that stuff was absolutely part of my life back then. And let me talk about the impulsiveness, actually, for a minute, because when I say the impulsiveness, I'm talking about, I have broken my ankle 3 times. One was on a rope swing, age 16. One, I was dared to slide down the banisters of the escalator at Clapham North Tube, I know, which did not end well. And the third one was, I was on a moped with 2 windsurfing instructors in Greece. So I don't want to talk about that one. But, those things happened to me because I'm impulsive, because I'm a risk taker, because I don't think things through, and because I want to fit in, and I kind of just want to, be normal, which just when I talk about those behaviours, that's not normal behaviour, but here I am. So you couple all of that, you couple that impulsiveness with this self-worth, and it leads to so much anxiety, I might look like, I think Amy said earlier about looking like the extrovert. I'm not. I'm a huge introvert, but I've masked and kind of come across as this extrovert my whole life. So the anxiety, the depression, the emotional overload. What actually happened was, and it got to a point where about 10 years ago, I got what looked like on the outside this really amazing corporate job. It was fantastic, good money. It was for a big company. I thought, this is it. There's lots of processes in place. There's lots of ways this is going to support me. Prior to that, I'd had about 20 different careers. Like any good ADHDer, I'd signed up for a degree in biological psychology, followed by a degree in acupuncture, followed by countless other courses. I'm now studying a master's degree in applied positive psychology. So yeah, just really following all of these kind of tangents. And now I've just forgotten the tangent I was on. Where was I up to? I know we're all doing the same thing, aren't we, today? We're all doing the same thing. So that led me to this job. Now, this job nearly killed me. I know others have talked about burnout, but this job was ridiculous. I had 5 managers in 2 years. There was no clear boundaries. There was no clear targets. Everything was ambiguous. The goalposts were always moving, and and even when I asked for things I wanted or to help me, they were dismissed. It was almost like they went out of their way to make it as difficult as possible for me in the workplace. Now, I didn't have my ADHD diagnosis then, so I didn't really know what I needed, but this job nearly finished me off. I ended up signed off work with depression. I wanted to drive my car off the road because that would mean I didn't have to go to work on Monday. I didn't want to die. I just wanted to injure myself enough so that I didn't have to go to my job. Now, that's not a normal thought to have about work and things. So I signed off work. I was diagnosed with clinical depression, and I was also at the time diagnosed with bipolar 2. They tried to medicate me for that. That didn't kind of work. And so eventually I picked myself up, and I managed to, through the help of yoga, through healthier living, making good choices, actually get myself back on my feet about 10 years ago. Set up my own business, which was really good. Now, looking back, I now know that bipolar diagnosis, I don't think it was right. I don't think I fit the criteria, and the medication didn't work. I 100% believe that it was emotional burnout, emotional overwhelm from years of trying to be something I'm not that caused that nervous breakdown, I guess, in old school terms you would call it. And which gives you an idea as to how catastrophic being undiagnosed and having these differences, these neurodivergences can be. And that's why people should care. I know you were talking about that, Sam. It's because it can cause absolute carnage within your life and within your relationships and within how you live your life. And some people do not survive that. They cannot deal with it. And this is why we have to be talking about it. As an example, one of the other things that happened was I was married. I say was in the past, because one of the things we used to argue about so much was I'd left another glass on the side and hadn't washed it up. Oh, it's all there all day. Oh, that thing on the floor that I've stepped over like every day for like 2 weeks, haven't picked it up. I've forgotten this thing again. I've forgotten someone's birthday. I haven't done this. I've gone off on a tangent and I've spent all day following my new hobby of whatever that is, knitting or jewellery making or, all of those things that we then spend a shit ton of money on and get in debt for. Anyway, another story. Those were the things I was doing instead of what I should be doing as the wife, as mum of my kids and all of that. And it makes me actually really sad to look back, because I now know that my undiagnosed ADHD was part of the reason that I got divorced and why we split up, because I didn't know that's what it was. I was just desperately trying not to feel like a loser and desperately trying to keep it together in the face of something where I just thought, why the hell can't I get this together? Why the hell can't I be a normal human in the human world? But if you fast forward now to where I'm at now, so I started my master's degree a couple of years ago, and as part of that, I started to learn a bit more about ADHD, and my university have an educational psychology team, and as part of my course I actually got my ADHD diagnosis, and that's when they also diagnosed dyspraxia as well, which I wasn't expecting, but actually in retrospect when I think about the broken bones and everything else, probably yes. And do you know what I thought, because I knew in apostrophes that I had ADHD, that it wouldn't affect me. I thought I would just be relieved. I thought I'd just be really happy that I have ADHD. I know, I've got the tick in the box, brilliant. But what kind of followed then as well was this like roller coaster of shit, fuck, I'm really sad. I'm really angry about what I could have been and what could have happened. I could have done this thing and I could have not fucked this up and, you know, all of that stuff. So it went on this roller coaster of like grief and anger, and until really I kind of got it out of my system. And I didn't know that that was going to happen. And the more people I talk to about late diagnosis, and don't get me started on late diagnosis combined with perimenopause, because holy shit, if you are a woman and you're at my age and you're going through a similar thing, they do not play nicely together. They do not play nicely together at all. So it's, you know, now I've just lost my train of thought again, as I always keep doing. So it's, what was I talking about for? Diagnosis, yeah, late diagnosis, of course. And this is what's led me to do the work that I do today. So the three things then that I think have really helped me as a woman, as someone who's, you know, going through huge identity shifts anyway because of my age. You know, society thinks that when you're, you know, menopausal, when you've got grey hair, when you're, you know, you're of a certain age. If you're a woman, you're kind of invisible. You know, you sort of blend into the background a little bit. So there's this big identity thing. So identity is one of the things that, you know, getting clear on that. That's really helped me. So identity is important, and I think you get to a point where the mask really starts to crumble, especially at my age. So finding out who I was and actually being able to express who I was genuinely in all my weirdness. And we were talking about this, Jack. It's been like such a breath of fresh air. It's one of the things that has led me to actually feeling happy for the first time in my life, I think, and content for the first time in my life at 46. And this is why we need diagnosis. This is why we need to talk about it, and why we need to kind of really, you know, this is the importance of why we should care. So, you know, feeling happy for the first time in my life. What am I talking about? The next thing. Okay, the next thing that's really, really helped me is vision, and actually having a really clear vision about what I wanted. And that stems from this identity piece. You know, this whole life of masking, I didn't know who the hell I was. I was showing up doing the things I thought I should. So identity, and then really kind of having a clear vision about what I wanted out of life and who I wanted to be. And then the third thing was actually having a plan and a strategy and some accountability and somebody to kind of guide me, I guess, on that journey. And that is the beauty of talking about it. Oh, there is a fourth thing, actually, community. Because without a community, without talking to other people and normalising this, you know, our kids are going to just go through the same stuff as we have. You know, we're not going to change anything unless we get out there and we stand up on the stage, like I'm doing today, right out of my comfort zone, and talk about what it means to be an ADHD woman, you know, ADHD as an adult, all of those things. So, and there is a big community out there. If you feel like you're the only one, when you've spent your whole life feeling like you don't fit in, there is community out there, and it's so refreshing and wonderful, like here today, to be part of something where we kind of all get each other. So that's it. So hopefully today I hope there's something in there that is useful to you and actually makes you feel, you know, a bit less alone and a bit more like you're valid and everything else. So I've been Abi Lemon. Thank you.